LA City Councilman Kevin De Leon. We saw him earlier with his launch event. Congratulations and welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much, Marla.
Thanks for being here.
All right, so we just heard some of the other candidates. These are all people, many of whom you're friends with and have known for a very long time. You're all Democrats. You all agree on a lot of issues. What makes you different? Why you over them?
Well, let me say this. I think if anything we've learned the past year and a half of turmoil, uncertainty, and isolation, especially as we continue to fight the COVID-19, is as Angelenos, we simply cannot go back to the old normal because all you have to do is look at encampments in almost every neighborhood in Los Angeles. Angelenos lined up blocks on end, waiting to pick up a box of food just to feed their children. A sense of panic and anxiety among Angelenos for rent relief, and the very fact that the only thing that's standing between an Angeleno keeping a roof over his or her head and living out on the streets is an eviction moratorium. So that means we need to chart a new course for the city of LA. It's about lived experience. It's about letting Los Angeles know that they're not alone, that they know that they can have the mayor, the next mayor of Los Angeles, know what housing insecurity feels like. And I can tell you this, I can remember as a young child when we would hear that knock on the door by the landlord demanding his rent, and my mother would, take her finger to her lips and say, shh, cállense todos. Shh, be quiet, don't say a word. That sense of embarrassment, quite frankly, and that's what I went through as a young child. So I think that LA needs to know that they're not alone during this great moment of crisis.
You say that you want to tackle LA's challenges. Of course, you just talked a lot about housing affordability and also the homelessness crisis, which is absolutely at crisis level here now. What is your plan?
It's a humanitarian crisis unlike anything we've ever experienced before. I have more unhoused individuals in all of Los Angeles, more unhoused individuals in my district alone than the cities of Chicago and Houston, third and fourth largest city in America. But in spite of that, I have housed nearly 2,000 unhoused individuals in the last 9 months alone. To give you some context, I put forward a plan that the city of LA has voted for unanimously, which is 25,000 housing units by the year 2025. Let's be very clear. If you're unhoused, if you're living on the streets, on the sidewalks, in parks, in your own car, by definition, you have no roof over your head. So it's that simple. Let's put a roof over the head, whether it's building, but building with value for our taxpayers, not exorbitant HHH, that's $700,000, $800,000 per unit, whether it's adaptive reuse, purchasing buildings, commercial property, converting them, and master leasing, taking advantage of all the vacancies.
You've been on the city council for not all that long, but you were one of the most powerful people in all of Sacramento, and Democrats have been in charge on this issue for a long time, and yet the problem keeps getting worse and worse. Why should we trust that it's going to get better? What are you going to do differently than what Mayor Garcetti's already doing?
Well, listen, I don't think we should, define the past or look towards the past to define what the future may look like. I think Mayor Eric Garcetti has done an exemplary job. But let me put this in context.
But how do you, people are going to say exemplary job? You just talked about the fact that you have all those homeless in your district.
I'm going to put this in context because this means it's all hands on deck. That means the President of the United States. That means the Congress of the United States. That means the governor, the state legislative body, where I came from as a leader of our California State Senate. That means the county board of supervisors, the mayor, and council. Let me tell you this. LA's mental health facilities are the open streets of the city of Los Angeles. When you see someone running naked down the street or half naked with feces caked onto their skin, having a schizophrenic, psychotic breakdown, we've normalized that in Los Angeles. It's almost like it's the natural landscape. It is white noise. Instead of them getting treatment, because the city of LA, last time I checked, doesn't have a mental health department. That is LA County. That's why we need to work together, not against each other, to improve the human condition for all individuals living on the streets.
We want to get Phil Schuman in the conversation as well. And maybe look over here. Phil?
Well, Councilman, if I was an elected official and I saw that naked person running down the street, I hope I would pull my car over and stay there until I made sure that they were getting the help they needed,
Absolutely.
Which I'm sure you'd agree with. Now, look, with all due respect, viewers have heard these political positions, plans, speeches, lofty goals forever. And a lot of it just goes right over their heads because you could just substitute one person for another. It seems like people really want leadership. And so my question for you is, who is a leader who you've admired? Who has a leadership style that you've tried to emulate in your career as a politician?
Well, you know what? That's a very good question. I'm not quite sure if I've emulated other elected officials, other politicians, but someone who I admire greatly is my own mother, a single immigrant mother with a third-grade education who worked her fingers to the bone to clean the homes of the very wealthy. And it's that where I got my strong work ethic and the courage and the values to move forward, to work every day for Angelenos, to lift them up so they can achieve their dreams in the city of LA. It may not be the standard, canned political answer, whether it's JFK or who's been a great president, RFK and other folks, but quite frankly, it's a Latina single immigrant mother who was a housekeeper for the very wealthy in a neighborhood with the palatial homes overlooking the Pacific Ocean. That was my role model.
And Phil?
All right, Phil, you have a follow-up?
I'd like to meet your mother. What do you understand about the woke LA voter that your rivals just don't seem to get?
Well, I think that there is anger right now because that we are witnessing, so many Angelenos, like I said a few moments ago, standing for blocks, waiting up to pick up a box of food. The very fact that all you have to do is look at our Latino, Asian American, and Black brothers and sisters who are on the front lines, yet relegated to the back of the line for life-saving vaccines. I was explaining, earlier that the district I represent, at the peak of the pandemic, my district was ground zero for both infections as well as mortality rates. My residents, they can't Instacart Whole Foods or Gelson's or Sprouts. They can't Postmates sushi to their home. They don't have a 3,000, 4,000 square foot home. They can't Zoom or Google their meetings. They're essential workers, yet treated like they're expendable workers, multi-generations under one roof. And the vaccinations simply were not getting to ground zero, where people were dropping like flies or dying.
Let me ask you, if I could, just about the fact that there's a recall petition circulating, and these are from your very own constituents in District 14, and they cite how you've handled the homelessness crisis. So now you're going to be asking more voters, more of your constituents to get their vote. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, the way I reconcile that is, I respect all individuals regardless of the political party. There were staunch right-wing Trump supporters. They don't like the idea that I'm building a tiny cabin shelter in a part of Eagle Rock community where we already have unhoused community members actually currently living there. This is an issue that has festered for years, if not decades. And I campaigned for the city council saying, I'm going to tackle this issue. I'm going to tackle it head on. I'm not going to sweep it under the rug. And now we're building tiny cabin shelters. They don't like it. I'm respectful of that.
Yeah, they say that it's going to threaten the family unit and kids in the neighborhood.
It's not going to threaten any of the family members there. We're going to have 24/7 security. We're going to have bathrooms and showers. Why wouldn't we want to organize it in a clean, orderly fashion, have meals served, as opposed to the current state that we have in Skid Row and everywhere else in the city of LA? So listen, this is a very complex issue, and folks are going to push back.
Right.
But if we're going to have real political action and leadership, we can't run away from the issue because some neighbors get angry and upset. We have to step up and do what we know is right for the city of LA because, quite frankly, it leaves an indelible mark of shame on a great city like LA.
Let's talk about the issue of immigration for a moment. You are one of the most significant leaders that are Latino that we've ever had in this state. And when people hear that sanctuary state, that's you. That was your bill that made California a sanctuary state. California's done a lot for the undocumented, even in the last year, including expanding health care for the undocumented. You, as LA mayor, what more, or is there anything more that you could be seeing in terms of an expansion of rights for the undocumented that isn't currently in place now?
Well, listen, the bottom line is this, is we need Congress to step up and get immigration reform done. You have, hundreds of thousands of folks who are working on the West Side in the finest restaurants in the world, cleaning the most palatial homes on top of the hill, whether it's in Palisades or in Brentwood or Bel Air. And they've been doing it for decades. Yet we have a Congress who have yet to get their act together and normalize the legal status of so many folks who've been paying their taxes every year, who've been raising their children. Many of their children are dreamers who have gone on to University of Southern California, UCLA, Cal, Stanford. And still, after so many decades, we still don't have immigration reform. It's that simple because it'll be an injection into the economy where folks feel 100% that I am an Angelino, I am a Californian, and I am an American because I've contributed so greatly to the economy. We're the 5th largest economy on planet Earth. That means there's only 4 economies. The United States as a whole, it is China, Japan, Germany, and then the great state of California. A lot of those workers are the backbone of this economy.
And lastly, just because we also like to have a little bit of fun, and this is
This
something
is a hard turn.
from our political show, The Issue Is, which you also got to come on sometime soon. We like to ask some random questions. Since we just had the Emmys in Los Angeles, such an important part of the industry
It is,
here.
without a doubt.
Favorite TV show?
I don't know I have a favorite TV show right now. I think Netflix right now, I've been waiting for the next episode installment of Narcos, you know.
Okay.
I've been waiting for that. It hasn't come up yet. There was a documentary that I just saw recently that floored me, which is a 3-part series of Naomi Osaka, racially mixed, Asian American, Haitian family. What was really telling to me was her openness, her courage to share her mental struggles, her mental illnesses. And I was just floored away with it. Just the courage, the bravery of a world-class athlete who's actually living, I think, right here in Los Angeles. And to be so open about it, which is, you know, we can dispel the stereotypes and the myths of mental illnesses, especially during COVID-19, where so many of our families, working families and kids have been impacted so greatly.
Well, she is such a brave young lady. And Kevin De Leon, City Councilman, we appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight on
thank you
Special
so much.
Report.
Nice to have you in the building,
Yes.
too.
Thank you.
Hopefully
Great
this
to
is
be
the
here.
first of many.
I hope so.
As now, I finally am taking a breath from the recall coverage, and now it's a whole new campaign.
That's right.
That we
From one to the
begin now.
next.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much.